And welcome back to another very special episode of The Breakdown, X's and O's. And we're talking hugs and kisses, ladies and gentlemen, because today, today, have we got a lot to talk about. Although it is just the offseason for the NFL, there is always news for us to cover. There's always news for us to talk about. And we're going to share it out today. And then we're going to have a little special rant segment at the end. That's not in news relevancy, but it's something that me and Nate might be able to do another little Skip and Shannon segment with and have a little fun with it. Well, the guy that's to my right, he's back after a little absent last week, had a couple family things to take care of. He's the 5-year NFL vet. He is the man, the myth, the legend. If you can't tell by his shirt, his name is Nate Nessie, as I like to call him, but you can call him Nate Ness for this show. And today, yes, it is. It is
Taco Tuesday. Yes, it is.
It's Mr. Five o'clock Shadow.
That's Robbie. Robbie said he was gonna be messing. He's gonna, because I'm running beard. So Robbie has a lot to say. Robbie's gonna be messing with me tonight.
I'm glad he's here because that rant segment's gonna be fun. I got a lot to talk about for sure.
Oh my God.
Nate, you haven't been here for the week, so kind of let me in on what's been going on and tell me how the day's been. What's going on, Nate? I haven't seen you in a minute.
I know, man. I'm going to give God his praise and glory. Say hello to my family. Tyler, Nemo, Demi, Nika, love you guys. Just, again, blessed in itself. Had to get the kids registered and ready for school. School will be here before we know it. You guys hear Nemo in the back. Nemo, you gonna say hi? Okay, yeah, he doesn't want to come over. But just parenting. It's kind of funny. It's very I remember it like it was yesterday. My parents going through the steps of getting me ready for school and going to the school and so forth, and whatnot. Now I am a parent. 2 small children in in kindergarten, second grade and kindergarten. I'm about to have a college freshman. This is weird for me to say, but I'm just all I can say is just be humble and just be grateful for how good God has been to me and my family. Oh, God has been so good. And yes, I have a freshman in college.
Hopefully, he has some fun. Does he know where he's going?
Yes, he knows where he's going. I want to see if he's going to run track and compete in college. Yeah.
So how's the day been? Has it been?
It's been a beautiful day. Work, upper body workout, do legs tomorrow. It's just been a beautiful day. No complaints. Just again, went to work, got this little fella. We are relaxing. Everything's a blessing, man. Everything's a blessing.
All you can do, you gotta relax. I took like a nice little power nap before we came on, and I was beat.
You ever notice like how when we were kids we hated taking naps, but when you get older, how valuable a nap is?
Oh, I don't ever. Now I know Sunday I took probably like a 2.5 hour nap, but
Yeah.
usually it's like 30, 40 minute power naps. Like today, it was probably like a 30 to 40 minute power nap, and then I'm just back to it. Because if I got something to do, my body won't let me sleep.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it's time to get up. You got something to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm glad you're back. Last night was actually really fun, and yeah, Rob's right. You can never underestimate the value of a good nap.
No, you can't. You really can't.
I mean, last week was really fun. I enjoyed having Jackson here. He was very good. He's very knowledgeable. I like to listen to him because he's not like monotone or anything. His voice is just it's kind of plain, and that's not me I'm like not me making fun of him or anything. It's actually sort of a compliment because I'm super kind of over the top and theatrical because you got to have somebody bring me down a little
Yeah.
bit, and Jackson does a great job of doing that, and it was very nice to pick his brain because honestly, it was like you. I told him we were doing this probably a little bit before the show, and I don't really tell him what we're doing until I think about it all, and he's got to think about what he's going to say off the fly, and he does a
Mm-hmm.
very good job of it. And he's not a 5 year NFL vet, so he doesn't have the experience you have to just kind of go off the fly. But there is somebody that I know you wanted to talk about who has been an NFL vet. I think we can say that, and he was the superhero of the Mile High Miracle.
Yes.
If you want to talk about that for a little bit, I know that's been on your mind. And
Oh man, one of the, I said this to you, Connor, about speaking about Jacoby, and I want to take my hat off and want to take just send my condolences to Jacoby's family. Hell of a competitor, hell of a man. Like 5-star individual. Just a person that was full of life and energetic and just personality. Always wanted to make people laugh and feel comfortable and just again enjoy life. And one of the things that has gotten me that has got to me is we've lost a lot of good, like we've lost some people, you know um and I think it's very important. We have these moments where you know we don't really appreciate folks until it's too late. And I think it's very important for us to just again give people their flowers, to live, to laugh, to forgive, to enjoy life, to not hold on any grudges. Tell a person if you love them, tell them you love them. You can never tell a person you love them too much. You know, it's just there. Life life is so precious, and at the same time, it comes and goes like a fleeting vapor. People are here one day and they're gone the next. So I think we have to really appreciate the time that we have with those individuals. And again, I want to just send my condolences to Jacoby's family, the Jones family, and just again, I had a young man. His name is Jeremy Powell. We actually grew up together. We went to high school together. Him and Jacoby, they went to college together, and they pledged together. So it's just again, yeah.
now, what's interesting is I did hear that it was cardiac arrest. I think that's what I heard. You can confirm that, Nate, and
Yes.
it's interesting because we've had a lot of segments. I mean, when B.J. Thompson and Damar Hamlin, we talked about that. What's interesting about the cardiac arrest and what we can draw from it, but I mean, it happens a while after Jacoby obviously retired from the NFL, so it's hard to say what we can draw this from. If he just has a history of heart problems in his family, I don't know what happened, but I mean, cardiac arrest, man, it feels like it's the new CTE.
We've had a couple of Vontae, my old teammate Vontae Davis. It was a cardiac issue. I mean, and you question, you're just like, what's going on to where all these young athletes, these young men who were athletic and whatnot, what is it where we're seeing these cardiac issue related issues, or excuse me, cardiac related death issues?
So, I mean, the guys of the breakdown, we send our condolences, we send our prayers out to Jacoby Jones's family. I never got to meet the guy. I've heard that he was just a spectacular dude for like a ray of sunshine, one of the most humble, down to earth guys you'd ever meet. Uh, but I wish I could have met him, and I hope he's in a good place now. But let's get into it, Nate. I know we got a lot to talk about, and I want to introduce really our first segment, Nate's necessary notes. Let me turn this down just a little bit before I get it up. It's gonna be loud. Okay, Nate. You said that the training camp, when you talked to me about what you wanted to say, we got to talk before we get on the show. You want to talk about the training camp, but I had a really special idea. And the Chicago Bears they're going to do the hard knocks. The preseason hard knocks is going to be on the Chicago Bears. They're one of the hottest teams right now. It was like the Lions, last year coming in. The Bears have been making some work. Now, if all this hype for the Bears and it doesn't live up to it like the Lions did last year, a lot of people are going to be disappointed. But we now see that the reason they waited so long for Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze to sign the rookie contracts is because a lot of people thought it was because they wanted to show up for the hard knocks. Now we have the hard knocks, we have training camp. Nate, I have the numbers for the rookie contracts. If you want to talk about the training camp and their expectations, I can see. Well, actually, I'll give you these numbers.
Your
I
numbers.
want you to tell me what these numbers mean in terms of their expectations, how much money they're getting paid, and how much they're supposed to produce with the pay that they're getting. So Caleb Williams he just signed a 4-year, $39 million deal as a rookie quarterback, which is just about what Bryce Young signed last year. I think he signed a 4-year, $38 million, something around there. It's very similar. So obviously you have Bryce Young's standard of he did not do very great last year. So if you're getting paid the same amount as Bryce Young, and you beat his standard, that might be a win for the Chicago Bears. I personally think he should do more, but I'm going to leave that to you, Nate. You're the 5-year NFL veteran. And Rome Odunze signed a 4-year, $22.7 million deal. So they're going to be there together both for 4 years. We're going to see what happens in Chicago. Training camp's coming up, Nate. What are the expectations for the two Chicago Bears first rounders? And I mean, lay it out for me.
Well, let's go ahead. Let's look at draft position. Caleb Williams was drafted number 1 overall. That right there in itself, the franchise, they're giving him the keys to the franchise. He is quarterback 1 from the minute his name was called after he went up to the podium. Shook Roger Goodell's hand, smiled for the camera, had the jersey up and everything. First press conference, he was QB1 because you don't spend the number 1 overall draft pick on somebody that's not you're expecting to come in and not compete. He's the guy. Same thing with Rome. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Can you help me? Odunze. I didn't want to butcher his last name. Excuse me. But the same thing. You are expecting these guys to come in and compete. It's not about necessarily just the contract, but it's the fact that the draft position. These are first round draft picks. Okay. Hey, they have high expectations for these guys. These guys are going to be pillars for this team as they rebuild and try to make a way for them to compete in this NFC North, this competitive NFC North. And this NFC North is young and competitive. So you're expecting these guys to come in, again, and compete, be leaders, and so forth, and just really be the playmakers and the stars. With Caleb Williams, I mean, he's a quarterback. The quarterback is the face of the franchise. He's going to be expected to carry the load. He's going to be expected to make plays. He's a former Heisman Trophy winner. He went to the University of Southern California. He had great numbers. Now, we're not going to discredit, the competition and the fact that USC didn't play no defense. He had great numbers as far as, statistically, passing yards, his completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio. He had very, very, very solid numbers, which allow him to be drafted number 1 overall. Yet he's going to be expected to come in and to provide leadership and provide a spark from that QB position. Because let's just face it, the Chicago Bears, very much like the New York Jets, have not been known for their quarterbacks of years. So it's going to be something to you get the guy you want, and you expect the expectation is high. You know, he may be a rookie and it's his first year, but the expectation is high.
I mean, he could have a Bryce Young performance, and
I mean, you know what? Before we actually even speak in a negative, condescending tone on Bryce Young, we got to look at some things with Bryce Young. Things that went against him. Number one, his coach was fired 8, 9 games into the season. You know, he has a new head coach. He didn't have the proper things around him. He didn't have the line. He didn't have the skill position. You know, if you want to put these young men in position to succeed, you have to have things in place for them to succeed. Excuse me. You got to have things in place for them to succeed. Again, because then basically what it comes to is that, you know, you waste, what, 4 years and he doesn't, I guess you can say, quote unquote, you know, pass the expectation and whatnot. Then you label him as a draft bust or a wasted draft pick. That we don't do that. You don't waste a draft pick. You know, again, you have to put the necessary pieces around this guy that's so he can be successful. I love, you know, we look at CJ Stroud, #2 overall pick last year, went into a great situation. Because if I had to, like, you know, think if it was Bryce Young, I think Bryce Young would have succeeded in that situation as well. Because again, they had the team, they had the pieces, they had the coaching. You know, that right there, again, I'm glad that Canales is there. You know, childhood friend. You know, grew up in the same area. He needs stability, and he needs to grow and progress in his mechanics as a quarterback, his film study as a quarterback, and understanding the play calls, understanding defensive, understanding the offense, and just again taking what the defense gives you, learning how to throw the ball away, not taking no unnecessary sacks and hits. These are all things that he's got to learn, and you need a quarterback and a coach. Excuse me, you need a coach and an offensive staff as well as the pieces around him for him to learn, for him to acclimate his system or acclimate to the NFL system.
well, if we take their situations, one has a head coach that has been there for 3 years, but it's going to be his first year as a quarterback, and one had a head coach fired his first year as new head coach, but it's the second year in the NFL. So honestly, I think it's more of a season to prove for the head coach
Oh yeah,
in
hands down.
Chicago, but
Oh,
more of a season to prove for the quarterback in Carolina.
you know,
Because I don't think
with
Canales is going to go one and done.
I don't think Dallas is going to go one and done. You know, we seen what he did with Baker Mayfield. Let's just what he did with Baker Mayfield.
He revived his career.
He revived his career, and Baker Mayfield led the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to an NFC South division and to a play. They won a game in the playoffs. You know, so again, Dallas has shown his ability with quarterbacks. I think you don't give him a one and done type of ordeal. You give him time, and you got to draft the pieces around him. You have to get solid protection around Bryce Young, or he won't make it. You know, and then again, like you said, to piggyback off that, Matt Eberflus is coaching for his job right now, and it's going to be really tough. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible. It's going to be tough because we're talking about him competing in that NFC North, where all the teams are young and competitive. You got the young, high flying Detroit Lions, Green Bay. Mark my words, Green Bay, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem this year for some teams. Then you have Minnesota, and now you have Chicago. This is a young NFC South where it's like a lot of young bulls on these teams. Whereas again, they're coming out there to compete and compete hard.
And I'm gonna have to switch over to the. Well, I'm gonna love the competition in the South. Don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna have to switch over to some NFC North football because I think that's gonna be some entertaining football this year. Because I usually it's a big brother little brother type thing in the
Yeah,
South,
that's all. That's what it's been.
but I don't know about this year, except maybe with the Vikings. But even then, I mean, you never know with the rookie quarterback who can surprise you. You never know. Am I good now?
Yeah,
Can you hear me better?
yeah.
Okay. As long as I'm not too loud. Uh, But honestly, though, I want to go back to Caleb Williams because I wasn't a big fan of Caleb Williams
No,
in
neither one of us.
one.
Neither one of us were a big fan. I mean, I think me and you were consensus. Bruce, of course, Bruce was so high on Caleb Williams, and that's not anything. That's not to knock his talent or anything. I personally felt that, you know what, if you bring the right staff in for Justin Fields, he has showed all the intangibles and the talent and so forth to lead this team. Again, you implement a system where, again, to utilize his strengths and so forth. But also Justin Fields had to make necessary sacrifices. And it's not necessarily no sacrifices, but it's called being a pro. That's acclimating yourself to your craft. Again, pushing yourself to be better. It's one of those situations where it's a lot of guys that play in the league. There, some guys that play in the league that like to just say, "Hey, I play in the league. I made it to the NFL." But the true professionals are working on their craft. They're watching film when they're at home. They're taking an hour out of their day after they finish practice, and they have a film set up at home where they want to go ahead and watch film, get an extra study time in. They want to study their opponent and so forth, and study themselves and critique themselves just so they can get better. This it's not about just playing football no more. This is your job and your profession. And you have to acclimate yourself and act like, again, it is your job and it's a profession, not just something that, you can just go around and say, yeah, I play for such and such team and this is that and the other. No, you got to carry yourself like a pro and you have to act like a pro.
Well, this was my issue with the whole situation is, I mean, you said it. I mean, we were probably in consensus with this too. Justin Fields was only getting better in Chicago. I mean, they just didn't have the pieces around him like they should have.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's got to feel some type of way whenever he leaves. He's on the boat going down to, or rather going up to Pittsburgh, and he looks behind him and they're acquiring all this stuff, a new quarterback to take his place, all these coaches to help the new quarterback, all these weapons to help the new quarterback, a new O line to help the new quarterback. And he's sitting there like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? I was only getting better in Chicago and they shipped me off to Pittsburgh
For a bag of chips.
for a bag of chips, right? For a bag of chips and Diet Coke at the gas station, the old Circle K. I mean, I just went over there today. It's 79 cents for a little frozen Coke Icy. That's about what you got Justin Fields for. You traded for a little frozen Coke Icy that you can only sip on for one day. You ain't going to get much of nothing out that pick. Now, I did want to say that obviously it's hard in the NFL for you to keep going up and up and up and up in your stats, for you to only keep getting better. Well, Justin Fields did that in 3 years. He only got better. Now, when you look at college, realistically in college, you should get better with the more experience you have. Can we agree on that? Is that something that is not far
You
fetched to
know what?
say?
But
If the situation is the same, you should only get better because you, one, have experience, you're comfortable with the situation you're in, and you're comfortable with the offense you've ran for the past 2, 3, 4 years in college.
I have to throw this out there. I have to throw this out there. The quarterback position, you have to have a learning curve, a really good learning curve. Um, and you have to really sit down and just really, you have to study your film. You got to study your craft. You got to study your technique. You have to study the defenses that you go against, and just really, again, and you got to spend time with your receivers, throwing the ball, extra time with them after practice and whatnot, just working on the timing and the relationship of it. That this is where Justin Fields, in my opinion, he did not show the maturity in that department because he was not, again, acclimating himself to develop that rapport and spend that extra time with receivers after practice and whatnot, and studying film and so forth. Justin Fields is an exclusive and an amazing talent. Explosive, big play with his legs and whatnot. But one of the things I feel that you have to improve on, and this is the game we get so enamored with the Lamar Jacksons of the world, you know, the Justin Fields, who really the Jalen Hurts, again, they can take off with the ball and again carry, like, use their legs and create explosive plays. But the quarterback position throws the ball. They command the offense. and whatnot. Now I'm gonna give Justin Fields his flowers because he had improved big time as a passer, you know, and just again his pocket awareness and whatnot. With Justin is he has to take the time to learn the position. If he learns the position and just really, you know, blocks out everything else and just concentrate on his craft and just getting better from that standpoint of where he was at in Chicago and just improving his mechanics and throwing the ball, understanding and reading defenses, going through your progressions, knowing what to do when again, you know, you see a too high shell, but that strong side safety, he's actually going to be coming down into a seam flat where it's going to be single high closed safety. Your progressions change. You have to be able to think those things, you know. One of the things I heard from from one of my coaches, Jim Caldwell, my last years in Detroit, uh, he identified the quarterback position to a surgeon, where a surgeon that's getting ready to have that's about to get ready to operate on a patient, they see the cut before they actually cut. The quarterback has to see the play before the play actually goes and whatnot. So it's just him getting better, and that's the only problem that I had. You know, yeah, he again he made some strides, but again, after a while, and given his coaching situation and so forth, it was unfortunate. It was up and down. Yet he didn't make the necessary you know leaps in the passing department as what true quarterbacks are supposed to do. Because again, a quarterback throws the ball. Quarterback does not run the ball. Quarterback throws the ball. They command the offense. They lead the offense. So that was my only thing.
Well, I'm gonna leave it at that, and because I'm gonna get into the next thing, so I can absolutely go skip and Shannon that rant segment
Oh
because I'm
my God.
excited for it. But let's go into the next segment because I hope you brought your pool floaties, Nate, because we're gonna be swimming with the Loch Ness. Because I'm actually excited for this segment because I've um I've been thinking about it and I've been watching stuff about it, and right now it's really Aaron Rodgers' first year for the Jets playing in New York, and because I mean, 4 plays into the game, you tear your Achilles. That's not a season. So really, this is his first season. I want to talk about his expectations for the year. I want to actually compare him to a quarterback to see if he can meet Aaron Rodgers' expectation by the end of his career. Because I saw an interesting segment on First Take the other day that I do want to kind of copy for this because I just thought it was interesting. And I just want to see what you think. I want to see if it's possible for Aaron Rodgers to get another Super Bowl by the end of his career in New York. But just tell me what's on your mind with Aaron Rodgers in New York. What do you think? What do you think's the ceiling? What do you think's the floor? Do you think they're going to make the playoffs? What's going on?
Well, good luck making the playoffs because the AFC East is still competitive. Miami's there. Buffalo is still going to be there. New England is in a rebuild, but you got to get through Miami and you got to get through Buffalo. You know, and again, even though this is Jay Mayo's first year coaching, and they're in a rebuild and so forth, you never know what will happen with New England. So with that being said, we're talking about an older Aaron Rodgers. An older Aaron Rodgers, I feel that window has closed for him to win a Super Bowl. He should have, you know, again, I can go through what year you want me to go through. 2014, 2015, 2019 was that with Tom Brady, the year Tom Brady beat Patrick Mahomes? Was that 2019 or was that 2020? Let's we can go through it because he he pissed down his legs. Each and in the big games, he is pissed on himself. You know, we talk about the amazing arm and the regular season statistics in the regular season that Aaron Rodgers has. You know, if I'm not mistaken, he has about 4 MVPs. 4 MVPs, man, that's amazing.
Second most out of anybody.
Yeah, because I think Peyton Manning has the most, right, with 5. Okay. Oh, same thing. Peyton Manning, and Aaron Rodgers. They have great regular seasons, but when it comes to the postseason, when it really, really matters in the big games, you cannot count on them to really deliver. People can say whatever the hell you want to about Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., but when the postseason came, oh no, I didn't want to play Brady. I don't want to play Brady because he has the mind. and please forgive me. I hope I do not offend any of our viewers when I say this. Tom Brady has the mind of a lunatic because winning, it, 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 that's all he knows is winning. It's a for him it's like a disease, and it's like a it's a chronic like addiction of wanting to win. Because after he wins again, this is his line. Hey, Tom Brady, what's your favorite Super Bowl ring? The next one. He wants to win and win. Now we look at Aaron Rodgers and we look at Peyton Manning. These two quarterbacks perform amazingly during the regular season. You guys have to excuse Nemo. He's watching Finding Dory. Um, and that's his movie. They have amazing seasons, regular seasons. But when it comes to the big games in the postseason, again, they don't show up. How can you? I can give you three games right now at the top of my head where Aaron Rodgers he wet the bed. They were up in Seattle. Was that 2014? They were up in Seattle in the NFC Championship, and Seattle came back and won. That was the year that Seattle lost in the Super Bowl to New England. That's 2015. Okay, what what else? Oh, again, another year where Aaron Rodgers Super Bowl. The Packers are 13-3. They lose in the AFC or the NFC divisional round. I can't remember who it was that they lost to. And then the next one, when he lost to Tom Brady, after Tom Brady threw back-to-back interceptions, and you can just close the game. All you have to do is score one touchdown, really. His window closed. I'm sorry. You know, the Jets took a flyer on Aaron Rodgers to get their fan base happy to go along with that top two, like that top three defense. But his window's closed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But listen, the Jets, the Bears, and I would say the Cleveland Browns are cursed when it comes to the quarterback position.
Oh, well, let me just stretch over for just a second. Hold up. Let me just stretch for a
Uh,
second. Oh, hold
you're
up, hold
you're
up.
you are more petty than you're pettier than NJ.
Hold
You are
up.
petty.
I'm glad you brought up Peyton Manning because look, Peyton Manning went to a new team. Took him a minute. He lost in like a. We just talked about the Mile High Miracle. The just at the beginning of the show, he lost there. He lost to Seattle when Seattle was at their high when they won their first Super Bowl. But he ended up getting him one. He ended up getting him a Super Bowl. His last year in Denver, they brought in DeMarcus Ware. Fantastic documentary if you haven't seen it. But the Jets are doing something very similar. DeMarcus Ware was brought in. Guess who was brought in New York? A veteran brought in pass rusher in New York or edge rusher in New York. Hassan Reddick. He was brought in for the Jets to teach that young line. They still have Quinnen Williams at D tackle. The secondary is still good on New York. Their defense is still top tier. Aaron Rodgers, in my mind, still has a chance. I'm not saying that it will happen. Obviously, you have to go through Patrick Mahomes, but who did Peyton Manning have to go through? Tom Brady. And he did it. He did it once. He did it twice. He went through Tom Brady. Peyton Manning made his way to two Super Bowls. Why can't Aaron Rodgers do the same? What's difference between a four-time MVP and a five-time MVP? Two regular season veterans, two of the best to do it in the regular season. Why can't they do it when it matters most? Now, obviously, there's a lot of players that are better in the regular season than the postseason. Dak Prescott, for example, has the fifth highest passer rating out of any regular season quarterback in NFL history. Right, but when he goes to the playoffs, he chokes. In college, he choked. Mississippi State was ranked number one in the country. He choked in the biggest games where it mattered most. Lost to Bama by 5 points. Went into Oxford. Lost to Ole Miss by a touchdown or two. Took us out of the playoffs. Went to his bowl game. Lost to Georgia Tech in the bowl game. Got his draft stock lowered because he was stupid. Got arrested for a DUI. And that's Dak Prescott for you. But Aaron Rodgers, high on psychedelics, high on the shrooms. He's got that Achilles tear. He came back way sooner than it was expected of him from his Achilles tear. Aaron Rodgers still has gas left in the tank. You can look at it and say, okay, Aaron Rodgers last season in Green Bay, he threw for yada, yada, yada. He threw for X amount of yards, which is lackluster for Aaron Rodgers. But you got to think about it. Aaron Rodgers had a rookie wide receiver core. He had no veterans on his wide receiver core. He tried to bring in Randall Cobb, which is I can't remember if he was, but I'm almost certain Randall Cobb was his best receiver that year, which is sad because Randall Cobb was 40 years old at that point. I mean, you bring in someone like Randall Cobb to have a familiar face so that you can teach some of these rookie wide receivers a thing or two. Well, Aaron Rodgers made those rookie wide receivers something because guess what happened when Jordan Love took over? Those same wide receivers became something because of Aaron Rodgers and his teaching the year before. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is going to win a Super Bowl, but I think it's possible. But he has to go through Patrick Mahomes first. Peyton Manning had to go through Tom Brady first. A Super Bowl in New York Jets, a Super Bowl for the Jets is not impossible. This can happen. It might it might not happen. Who knows? We'll have to see what the script says in the next couple months. But Aaron Rodgers is still capable to throw the football. He might be the greatest. He might be the greatest thrower of football I've ever seen in my life. It's crazy the way he throws it so effortlessly. It's crazy. And I know I'm wearing this Aaron Rodgers jersey. I can't stand the Packers now because of MJ. I can't stand them. But I'm wearing it because we talked about Aaron Rodgers. I, I I don't think it's impossible, Nate. I know you think his window's closed, but I'm glad you brought up Peyton Manning because just that little point that you just brought up makes a Super Bowl in New York that much more possible.
Peyton Manning. Yeah. Peyton Manning. Aaron Rodgers. Eli Manning. Drew Brees. I mean, Brady has more rings than all of them combined. He does. He has more rings than all of them combined.
Somebody had to beat him to get those rings.
I mean, but he's beat some guys too,
Yeah, I know.
But
so is Patrick Mahomes.
I mean,
people have beaten
and
Patrick Mahomes.
and right now, I'm gonna be honest with you. We're talking about it, yeah, because anything can happen on any given Sunday. I'm not betting against 15. Like I wouldn't bet. I didn't like betting against 12. I didn't like playing against 12. Right now, I'm not betting against 15. I know I'm not. I'm not betting against because long as him and Red are together, and when I say Red, Andy Reid, long as him and Red are together, and they got the singing Taylor Swifts. Yeah, I don't really. Yeah,
but it can still anything
can happen.
It can still
happen. But we also got to look at the teams in the AFC. You got the Kansas City Chiefs here. You got the Miami Dolphins. You have my team, Miami Dolphins. You have the Baltimore Ravens. You again, we cannot sleep on Cincinnati because Cincinnati, if Joe Burrow is healthy, Joe Burrow and Cincinnati are a problem. They are really the Kansas City Chiefs kryptonite. Again, Baltimore. Then you got Cleveland with Deshaun Watson, and hopefully they getting their stuff together with that whole thing. Their teams. Houston is going to be a problem. Whether you want it, Houston will be a problem. So it's so many teams in the AFC that we cannot discredit. I mean, Kansas City, of course, they're the cream of the crop. But it's other teams that New York's going to have to get through. And, we're talking about an aging quarterback. Quarterback that's he's 40, if I'm not mistaken. He's on the opposite side of 40. Coming off a major injury. I can't bet on Aaron Rodgers. And again, he's let people down too easily. How many times has Green Bay been the number one seed in the playoffs and they've come up short? I mean, we How many times? So Miami Dolphins coming out of the AFC
What,
East.
what color's kryptonite, Nate?
Well, it's different. Wait, hold on. It's different. Green kryptonite got Superman, but you had yellow. You had yellow. You had red. You had other forms of kryptonite,
Yeah, but only one could take down Superman,
and that was green.
and that was green. And who's Superman, Nate? Patrick Mahomes.
Hold on. Who's 47 to go? Talking about the Raiders gonna win a Super Bowl. 47 to go. Talking about the Raiders gonna win the Super Bowl.
Well, the Raiders might not win the Super Bowl this coming season, and Aaron Rodgers might not win the Super Bowl this coming season, but you could win some pretty good deals and save a lot of money with Jeff Retepney's car insurance.
Car insurance.
Here's to the grown-ups. Your car is now your office, stage, nursery. Shh, sorry. Erie Insurance offers products that lots of other companies don't. That's a big deal, and it's a good deal, too. And with Erie, you get your own independent agent, not a giant corporate call center or some online robot. You meet with a real person, like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
And when you call Jeff Retepney at 704-464-4544, go ahead and ask him who he believes Tom Brady's kryptonite is.
Wait, who Tom Brady kryptonite is?
Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite. Hold up. I'm getting to it.
We know who Tom Brady kryptonite is.
I'm getting to it. I had to have a perfect segue. Don't ruin my perfect segue, Nate. But Jeff Retepney has the perfect kryptonite for all your car insurance needs. Anything to do with all the deals and such. Erie Insurance has you covered. They're going to be the kryptonite to all your high dollar car bills. But Nate. Listen. I think, do you hear something?
Yeah, you want to come out here?
Because I'm ready to get a little messy with Nate Nessie. I don't know about you, but it's been a long 2 weeks. And I want to get a little messy with Nate Nessie because today the other day I had a nice little conversation with my buddy about, will Eli Manning be a Hall of Famer in the NFL? We had some nice little conversations. I already know how you feel about it based on how we talked the other day when we were having a little Skip and Shannon dispute over Aaron Rodgers and Eli Manning's career. Which one of those guys will be a Hall of Famer for sure? A shoe-in Hall of Famer first bout, and the other one might not make it. So, Nate, give me your opinions, whatever you want to say, and we're going to see what happens in this little Skip and Shannon V2. Is Eli Manning a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Hell yeah. Yes. He knocked off the Patriots. I mean, that's all he. We make a big thing. The Hall of Fame, the criteria nowadays for the Hall of Fame, even the Pro Bowl and the All Pro teams, it's the criteria is a little bit different. You've heard Hall of Famers in itself speak on it. You've heard the Deion Sanders, the Jerry Rices of the world, to speak on what it is to be a Hall of Famer, and the criteria has changed drastically. Again, Eli Manning is going to get into the Hall of Fame. Last name alone that carries so much weight, but also on the fact that he beat arguably the greatest quarterback and the greatest coach to ever do it in the Super Bowl twice. He ended again. The Patriots, they were the last team to go undefeated regular season. With an amazing team. Eli Manning literally knocked that team off, then came back 2 years later. Was it 2 years or a year? And another year later, 2 years later, and done the same thing again against a Patriot team, a really good Patriot team. Again, the criteria is going to be is different, but the weight alone of him beating Bill Belichick twice and Bill Belichick not being able to get his lick back, That right there that's all the weight that he needs to get into the Hall of Fame, outside of the fact that his last name is Manning.
Weight alone, huh?
Yeah.
Weight alone of him beating Bill Belichick twice. So you're not going to tell me that when Eli Manning played Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, and all they scored was 17 and 14 points in those two Super Bowls, you're going to tell me that was all Eli Manning. You're not going to say, okay, well, that undefeated team that Eli Manning beat is probably the greatest offense we've ever seen step foot in the NFL. And you're going to tell me a defense that holds them to 2 possessions in an entire game of the Super Bowl is not going to have an impact on beating Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Eli Manning, all he had to do was be a competent quarterback, and they win that game because of that defense. You could put – I'm about to have the biggest take in the world, Nate. You could put this quarterback in, and he does the same job. I'm going to give you a player A and a player B, and you're going to have to tell me which one you think is Eli Manning. You ready? And I'm about to have the biggest take in the breakdown history. Now, both these quarterbacks, first-round selections coming out of college. They're both first-round selections, and both of them have at least one Super Bowl MVP under their belt. I'm not going to tell you which one has more because then you're going to know which one it is, okay? Both of them
You're about to talk about Big Ben and Eli.
Oh, am I going to talk about Big Ben?
Because you talking about Super Bowl winning quarterback, right?
I haven't given you the rest of the statistics.
Okay.
Both of them have at least 4,000 passing completions. One has almost to 5,000, and one has a little over 4,000. One has a 60.3. Player A has a 60.3% completion percentage for their career, and player B has a 61.6% completion percentage for their career. Well, player A's passer rating for their career is 84.1, and player B's passer rating for their career is 84.2. Now, one has thrown 244 picks, and one has thrown 245 TDs. That's player B. Now, one has thrown almost as many picks, and they both have almost not real. It's not super close, but their passing completions are a couple hundred away from each other. Now, you have player B, 60.3% completion percentage, Super Bowl MVP, has an 84.1% career or 84.1 passer rating. And then you have player B, Super Bowl MVP, 61.6 completion percentage and an 84.2 passer rating. Which one is Eli Manning? Is it player A, Nate, or is it player B? Which player sounds like it had the better career?
It was player A no, player A threw the most picks. We know Eli threw picks, 245 of them.
So player A is Eli.
And Ben Roethlisberger is player B because of the fact
Ben Roethlisberger player B.
Yeah, because you talking about the same draft class. There was only 3 quarterbacks.
I didn't say they were the same draft class. I just said
they
were both picked in the first round.
Wait, hold on. You said they weren't?
I just said they were both picked in the first round. I didn't say that it was the same draft class.
One has a Super Bowl.
They both have Super Bowls.
Super Bowl MVP?
Both of them. At least one.
Both of them first round.
I'm playing with your mind.
Yeah, because you said both of them first round, and they have one Super Bowl, at least one. One Super Bowl.
At least one, yeah. They both have at least one Super Bowl MVP.
See, that limits the area.
So you're going to say the one with less completion percentage, the one that has a little bit, really their passer rating is the same, but the one that has a little bit worse passer rating, worse completion percentage, more picks, is player A's Eli Manning. Do you want to know who player B is, Nate?
Hold on, wait, hold on. How many touchdowns is player B thrown?
245. Both horrible in the regular season. Neither of them have won an All-Pro.
I really, this is a tough one. 200.
Neither one has an All-Pro, and I'm telling you, Eli Manning's never won an All-Pro.
Neither one of them has an All-Pro.
Nope.
Neither one of them. Yeah, we know that that.
Nate, do you want me to tell you who player B is?
Oh my God, wait, because I want to. Dude, you said neither one of them has an All-Pro.
Nope. You're not going to get it because I'm going to make the craziest take ever. And you're going to go, huh?
Joe Namath?
No. No, not Joe Namath. Player B's name is Joe. Player B is none other than Joe Flacco. Eli Manning is a glorified Joe Flacco. Think about it. Great in the postseason. Great defenses all time. You can say, okay, well, Joe Flacco did this. He won a Super Bowl MVP. Think about who was on that defense, Nate. Think about who was on that defense and then tell me, oh, Joe Flacco won that Super Bowl. Joe Flacco beat Jim Harbaugh on that Ravens team. No, Nate. Eli Manning is a glorified Joe Flacco. And you can come at me in the comments all you want. Listen to me. I'm going to say it again. Eli Manning is a glorified Joe Flacco. They both went to the postseason with stellar defenses, almost a top in the league. Who did Joe Flacco beat, Nate, in the Mile High Miracle?
Peyton
Manning.
With God rest his soul, Jacoby Jones catching the Hail Mary.
And Eli Manning went to the Super Bowl, beat Tom Brady. Joe Flacco went to the Super Bowl, beat that incredible 49ers team.
Ooh, you want to know what didn't even think about this. Joe Flacco beat Tom Brady the year in 2012 when they went to the Super Bowl. They beat them in New England in the divisional round. The very first play of the game, Ray Rice went 80-yard touchdown bomb.
Think about it. Eli Manning is a glorified Joe Flacco. You want to sit here and tell me, Eli Manning, Tom Brady's kryptonite. Joe Flacco has just about the same resume as Eli Manning. Just about, way less of the years. Although Joe Flacco can't beat another Tom Brady, he's not going to be able to. And he probably won't beat Patrick Mahomes either. They are similar quarterbacks in similar situations. Joe Flacco has a Tom Brady win under his belt, although it might not have been against the best offense we've ever seen. But he beat a Tom Brady-led team. Eli Manning beat him twice in the biggest game, but he also had stellar defenses. Think about it, Nate. Think about it. They both had stellar defenses. Winning, all they had to do was be competent quarterbacks. If you look at their regular season numbers, you wouldn't say, okay, this is going to be the Super Bowl winning quarterback. Because neither of them's never won an All-Pro. Eli Manning's went to some Pro Bowls, but the Pro Bowl really became a popularity contest.
That's all it is. It's a popularity contest.
It wasn't it. And I hope everyone is listening to me in this, and whoever's watching, because if this doesn't make sense, I don't know how else to put it. If you think Joe Flacco's going to make the Hall of Fame, is Joe Flacco going to make the Hall of Fame?
No.
Then why should Eli Manning?
I just gave you two reasons why.
I just gave you the same reason Joe Flacco beat Tom Brady in a divisional.
But what was the other?
And guess who he beat the next week? Peyton Manning. He beat two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in the same playoff run. And went in and won the Super Bowl with a stellar defense.
I gave you 2 reasons. I gave you 2. What's the other reason?
I don't know. Tom Brady.
No, the other reason, his last name, the weight of his last name alone.
Manning. And that's probably why he will make the Hall of Fame. Is because of his last name and because he beat Tom Brady twice. But you cannot tell me that Eli Manning and Joe Flacco's resume does not add up.
Yeah.
Because look, Eli Manning only put up 21 points against New England in the second Super Bowl. I believe that was 21-17. The one in 2012. He only put up 21 points. You want to know how much Joe Flacco's offense put up in that Super Bowl?
I think it was at 34 or 35.
34 points.
Yeah.
You want to sit here and tell me that Eli Manning is this, and this. When his defense held the Patriots to 14 points and 17 points, and then Joe Flacco goes in, beats the other best team in the league, and puts 34 points on them?
Eli has one more than Joe. Sorry.
He does. You're right. But if you look at the resumes,
they
are almost carbon copies.
But one has one more trophy. One has one more trophy than the other one, and that's what matters. He has one more trophy than that person.
But if you look at the the Hall of Fame quarterback list, and you go all the way down, you will not, and I just looked at it earlier, you will not find a quarterback that does not have at least one All-Pro.
Oh, I got one.
Maybe Troy Aikman, but
I was just about to say, I was like, we can't say because Troy Aikman.
And that might be an exception.
Because of the fact that they won 3 in 5 years.
But he has a better resume than Eli Manning.
He doesn't even know he doesn't because look at.
And he only played 11 years.
What's his touchdown to interception ratio?
Better than Eli Manning, 61.5%.
What is it? Wait. What's his touchdown? Total touchdown?
165.
So like 100 and some interceptions, right?
141. But get this. He's got an 81.6 passer rating. He has a better I'm sorry, Nate, but he's got a better resume than Eli.
Yeah, he has 3 more. He
won 3 Super Bowls.
He won 3 more Super Bowls on top of that. He won 3 more Super Bowls on the fact that Jimmy Johnson had orchestrated that Dallas Cowboy team where they ran the ball so well, and outside of running the ball, they had amazing big play receiver and Michael Irvin, where the play action will suck up the defense, and he'd be able to go ahead and throw those bombs to Michael Irvin. But Troy Aikman didn't win no games predicated on him. Like, oh man, he drove down the field and did this, that, and the other. They could put the team on his back. No, that team was carried by Emmitt Smith. So we have the Emmitt Smith in that offensive line.
No, and I agree. The Emmitt Smith did a lot. Has the highest rush. He's the highest rusher of all time. Like he's got all the accolades. But it's a different time. You have to look at the time too. It's a different time when Troy Aikman became a Hall of Famer. They eventually they got to look at, okay, well, who's left? And that's what's going to be with Eli Manning. Eli Manning will not be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I don't know about first ballot, but yeah, I don't know about first ballot though.
It's gonna come to a time where, hey, we have this amount of players. Who are we going to have to represent our quarterback position for this Hall of Fame class? And eventually, it's gonna land on Eli Manning.
Mm-hmm.
But Eli Manning, other than his name, he might have 2 Super Bowls over Tom Brady, but I feel like I put up a pretty good argument of other than that. Eli Manning is not a Hall of Fame quarterback, and neither is Troy Aikman. If we're being honest, neither should Troy Aikman be. But I feel like eventually they went to, okay, well, who's next? Who's going to represent our quarterback in this Hall of Fame class? And it ended up being Troy Aikman, the 3-time Super Bowl winner, a 1-time Super Bowl MVP, went to 6 Pro Bowls in 6 consecutive years, won a Man of the Year award. I mean, you just had to look at it. Although he only played 11 years in the NFL, Eli Manning played almost double that. You got to look at it and be like, okay, well, in 11 years, 3 of those were Super Bowls. You got to think, this man had over a 25% where he's going to win the Super Bowl. And that's crazy to think. When he steps on the field during the season, his team's going to win the Super Bowl 25% of the time. He's got a 25% chance to win the Super Bowl when his team steps on the field. What about Eli Manning? You can't say that. He can't step on the field and go, this is going to be a Super Bowl MVP right here. This guy's going to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. No, because the most he's ever had in the season, he didn't even break 5,000 yards in the season, and that's really where you're getting your bread and butter. You want to look at Peyton Manning. You want to look at Drew Brees. You want to look at Tom Brady. 5,000-yard season. They've broken it. They've broken a 5,000-yard season. Peyton Manning. Drew Brees done it multiple times. More times I can count on this finger. Drew Brees has done it. I don't know why he hadn't won MVP more than these other cats. But Eli Manning is a different story. I just gave you, hey, he's a glorified Joe Flacco. Because he is. He's a glorified Joe Flacco. You put him on the field, you put Joe Flacco on the field, you can get the same result in the regular season. And then they go to the Super Bowl, has stellar defenses, and then just win it all. Somebody had to take down Brady's offense. Somebody had to take down Manning's offense in that Super Bowl run. It wasn't Joe Flacco. It wasn't Eli Manning who took down those offenses. It was their defense that was consistently good. They played day in and day out. Ray Lewis went on that field, did his little Ed Reed was catching them freaking balls in the air. I don't even know. It was just a different story, man. And then the defense, there's 2 sides of the ball, Nate. There's 2 sides to a coin.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Okay, I'm gonna give it to you.
You tell me offense sells tickets.
Defense wins games.
Championships.
Defense wins games. I won't say nothing else. You got it.
That's all I'm gonna say about that. Man, I had a lot of fun. I like to do the Skip and Shannon segments, and I hope we can do more in the future.
Yeah,
it's fun, but we'll get to more in the future. I know Aaron Rodgers might be a future one because how you feel about him. But Nate, once we get a little bit too messy, we got to kind of channel our inner Ricky Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we ran a lot, and Nate did a lot of talking, and I did a lot of talking, but we're going to channel our inner Ricky Williams, and we're going to introduce something that stays the same regardless of who's here, and that's New Week, New Chapter segment. If Nate's here or Nate's not here, it's still going to be here. If I'm here or I'm not here, it's still going to be here. It's something that never changes. And when Nate's here, we have his little segment names. When I'm here and Nate's not, we have my segment names. But regardless, this is the only segment that stays the same. Now, Nate, I was told that you wanted to preface before we get into this segment. So I'm going to take it over. Let you give the reins to you, and you go ahead and say your piece.
So normally it's me, Connor, is introducing me for the New Week, New Chapter, but it's my turn to introduce Connor. And then this evening, I want to do something different. I missed the last week's getting the kids for school, ready for school and everything, and I listened to Connor speak, and I was moved. I was moved big time. And today, before we were doing our pregame warm up, and I told Connor, I was like, you didn't get it all out, and just a conversation between 2 brothers. And I said, Connor, we going through our scriptures and whatnot. I'm like, we gonna go Psalm 31 or 2 Timothy 3? And I just looked at Connor, and he didn't get it all out, and I need him to get it all out. So Connor, the floor is yours. Let God speak through you.
Okay. I'm going to take a deep breath, channel my inner Ricky Williams, and we're going to see what happens, because usually I have an idea of what I want to talk about, and I still have a little bit left in the tank. You're right, Nate. I didn't finish that. You know, when you drink a bottle of water, but you still got that little bit left, and like the ridges at the end. That's about how I feel. That just like that. That's about how I feel like right now. We have not finished our water bottles yet. Our water bottles are still just that much left. And Nate, I'm a little thirsty, but I have nothing else to drink. So I'm going to pop up this scripture and I'm going to see what happens. And today I picked Isaiah 41:10 because something told me that this is the scripture that has to be put up. I usually kind of look through my phone and look through kind of Safari or whatnot, or what I'm looking at, the internet, and I see certain things that maybe I want to pop up. And this thing popped up 3 times. And I said, you know what? Well, 3 times the charm. We're going to roll with it. And I'm going to pull up Isaiah 41:10. I have it right here on the bottom once I turn it off. And it says, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will surely help you. I will uphold you with my right hand of righteousness. So what's interesting is, I mean, we can pick out a couple things in this segment, and it's you know, a lot of people say the right hand of God, and it's interesting because we never hear about what's in the left hand. We say, okay, well, God's right hand is going to be his right hand of righteousness. We're not going to be afraid because he's there. He'll help us. He'll strengthen us. He will uphold his right hand of righteousness. But what's in the left hand, Nate? And I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to tell a little story of what I heard the other day, and maybe it'll answer the question of what's in God's left hand. Now, I like to listen to a lot of preaching going to sleep, and I heard this interesting story that I do want to share. Now, it's not my own. A lot of things I do say I like to take credit for, that I pull out analogies and stuff. I will say this is not my own. And it's a story about these two lumberjacks. One's this older guy. He's kind of in his older years. He's probably close to retirement. One's really new, and he goes up to the old guy. He says, look, I want to have a tree chopping contest right now, and I want to see who can chop the most trees by the end of the day. Okay, well, we're thinking, okay, well, look, our axe is in our right hand. Let's think about it like that. Our axe is in our right hand, and these 2 lumberjacks, by the end of the day, they're just chopping. They're chopping, because once dusk falls, once the sun goes down, whoever has the most trees wins. And every time the young lumberjack was chopping and chopping and chopping, he looked behind, and on a stump that the older man had made, he was just sitting down. And so the young one's, okay, he's getting his morale up, he's getting his courage up. He's like, okay, well, I'm going to beat this guy, because every time I look back, every time I look behind me, he's sitting down. So our axe is in our right hand, and we're chopping at our tree, and by the end of the day, they go and tally up their pieces of wood, how much lumber they've created and how many logs they've chopped down. And the young one's got his chest puffed out. He's going, well, I got this in the bag. Every time I was looking behind me, the older man was always sitting down. Well, the younger man had about 20-something trees by the end of the day cut down, and they tally up the old man, and he's got about 60, 70 trees chopped down. And the young man looks at him, he goes, how is that possible? And the old man looks at him, he says, every time you were watching me, every time you looked back behind your shoulder, you were chopping and chopping and chopping, but you never sat down and took a break. I'll tell you what I was doing. Every time I sat down, I was sharpening my axe. Every time you look back at me, I was sharpening my axe. So every time I hit a tree, I could cut deeper and deeper into the tree. Nate, in that young lumberjack's right hand, his left hand was empty. He was only using his right to chop down the tree. He never stopped and sharpened his axe. But the old man, he was using both hands. God gave us 2 hands. He was using both hands. One was chopping, one was sharpening. And the old man always had his axe sharpened. His faith was always sharpened. I saw a thing the other day, and it went, if me and you went to the same gym, obviously, Nate, you look like an NFL player. I obviously don't look like I could go play football in the NFL. You look like you could step on the field and fair for yourself. If we went to the same gym, you could look at me and say, okay, well, that guy probably doesn't go to the gym, but that guy definitely goes to the gym looking at you. And you want to know the difference between me and you, Nate? I like to just, I don't really diet that much. I kind of just like to eat whatever I want because I'm young and you only live once, right? But when you go out the gym, you diet, you do the things necessary to make your physique, to make it look like you're doing whatever. Now, I can say, okay, well, I went to the gym so I can eat that. Or I went to the gym so I can do that. You go to the gym and you say, I went to the gym so I can't do that. I went to the gym so I can't eat that. But Nate, it's the same with God. A lot of people want to go to church on Sunday. They come out of church, they say, okay, I went to church so I can drink. I went to church so I can smoke. I went to church so I can do that. But what we have to think is we have to hold ourselves accountable for the entire week until the next Sunday. We have to go to church. When we go to church and we learn and we sit down in those pews and we listen to the gospel, we listen to the preaching, we have to say, I went to church so I can't do that. I went to church so I can't put that in my body. I went to church so I can't watch this. I went to church so I can't expose myself to that. But we use gym, we use church, we use these things for excuses on what we do in our lives that we should not do in our lives. But what we don't understand is we need to take a second, step back, sit down, and sharpen our hands. Because when we do that, and both our hands are full, there's nothing that we can put in this left hand that shouldn't be there. Because one, we're chopping now, one's sharpening. We can't do anything else with our hands. There's nothing we can put in our hands if both of them are full with what they're supposed to be filled with.
Right.
So, Nate, we go to church. Till the next Sunday, we need to keep our hands full. We need to go to church and say, hey, I can't do that because I went to church Sunday. We need to keep in mind that, hey, this is something we can't do. We got to be of God. We have to be like the old man sitting down. Our axes need to be sharpened. Our hands need to be occupied. And the only thing we need to worry about is living for God, living for Christians. Because if me or you got arrested tomorrow, could we 100%, or anybody here, we have to ask ourselves this question. If any of us got arrested tomorrow, could we ask ourselves and be convicted Christian? Could they 100% be able to arrest us for being Christian? And if the answer is no, then your hands aren't occupied. Your axe isn't sharpened. You're making the same excuses of everybody else. I went to church so I can do that. I can expose myself to the things I'm not supposed to expose myself to. And I'm not perfect either. I'm preaching, but, I got a lot of stuff to work on too. So if the answer is no, jail doesn't sound fun to me, but heaven does. So if we can perfectly be convicted of being Christian, so that eventually we can have eternal life and eternal happiness in heaven, which is the spiritual jail, then we're doing a pretty good job. Nate, I want to thank you for letting me preach today. That's about all I have to say. Hopefully it moved something, it did something to you. And the verse is still under there. And Nate, if you want me to finish it off and pray, I will be
You start, you finish. You start, you finish. You start, you finish. Let's go.
I appreciate that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to
lead us.
Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. We're going to get into the prayer. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for letting us come here today for another episode of The Breakdown. We missed Nate last week, but I'm glad he's back, and we're doing the same thing too. Most importantly, I want to thank you for just letting us be brothers, for giving us the opportunity to meet each other and just having this relationship, Lord. And although he wasn't here last week, it was like he never left. And hopefully every week we're sitting here and we're glorifying you, because that's all we can do, and we're living for you. Lord, I want to thank you and have you bless us and help us for sharpening our axe and having our spiritual journey. To make sure that we're taking the time to sit down and making sure that both our hands are occupied, Lord, that neither hand is vacant for the darkness in the world, for the sin in the world, that both of our hands are occupied with faith, Lord. They're occupied with you. Because when that happens, there's no room for error, there's no room for failure, and there's only room for you. Lord, I want you to help us that when the week comes and church is here and Sunday's here, that we're not doing anything in between. I need a perfect heavenly sandwich, a perfect spiritual sandwich, and the 2 buns are Sunday and everywhere else in between week. And I pray that is the best spiritual sandwich we'll ever indulge in.
Yes, Lord.
That when we eventually come to meet you, that when we eventually become and have that eternal happiness, that eternal life with you, Lord, that we'll never hungry, we'll never thirst, and we'll always have our hands occupied, because then there will never be room for error, there will never be room for sin, and that we will perfectly live in harmony with you. I want to thank you again for letting us come here and just preach. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for moving through me. Hopefully someone got the message. Hopefully someone needed it. And until next week, we'll do the same thing. And in your son's holy, perfect, and precious name, I pray. Amen. You muted yourself, Nate.
My bad. Hey, good prayer, good show. Good prayer, good show.
Thank you, Nate. I do enjoy those things, and I did have a little bit left in the tank. I think you were right.
Thank you.
Because I didn't know what I was going to talk about when we got in. Got in it. But something happened, and hopefully someone got that message, and it did okay. Well, Nate, is there anything you'd like to say before we go ahead and end off this episode?
That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
Well, we've been a little bit over time. I apologize for going a little bit over time.
It's all right.
But
We needed it.
We needed it. And there was a lot that had to be said. So until the next week, I know Nemo's back there watching this little movie. Until next week, we will be here. I'm your co-host, Connor Davis. The man to my right is a 5-year NFL vet. He's the man, the myth, the legend, Nate Nessie. And this is the Breakdown X's and O's. We will see you next week. And until then, take care.